What happens to the menstrual cycle during a Kundalini awakening, or when you are on a spiritual path, spiritual enhanced practices such as yoga, meditation? What happens? As a woman, you might have noticed that your cycle is disrupted. Either it becomes longer, or that it no longer falls on the no moon or Amavasya day for it to come into a place when you're releasing, when your apana vayu, which is the downward vayu, is forcing everything out. So we are going through a rebirthing every month. Whatever is to be released goes through a release, and to release we need apana vayu, which is the downward. Now when we are going through Kundalini awakening or spiritual practices, there is a tendency for the energy to rise up, for this air to rise up, which is the Udana Vayu. When the Udana Vayu is rising up, it clashes with the Apana Vayu. When there is a clash between the two, our menstrual cycle starts to get disrupted. Now, you might have heard that if you are no longer having your period or your menstrual cycle during the new moon phase, and you have now shifted to the full moon, which is the fullness of you, which is usually when you would have been at your most fertile, right? When that shift happens, in some tradition, these women were called the medicine women, or they were called the women that you'd go to, the oracles, the witches, the women who are in touch with their higher senses, because they have reversed the flow so that all their flow is now upward. Then it doesn't come out anymore in coinciding with the phase of the moon. When you have a Kundalini awakening, the energy is rising. Now, when that energy is rising, for a particular amount of time, you may go through these menstrual disturbances. Now, as you get more comfortable with this and you heal whatever there was in this area, whatever there was in your sacral chakra, everything that is related to reproduction, everything that is related to our creativity, you may find that it now does flow when it's to flow during the new moon phase, and that your periods are now within your particular cycles. You could have cycles running from 28 days to 32 days, but that you are within your cycle and that there is no more of a disturbance caused to your menstrual cycle. The pains that you experience, every discomfort that you experience during your period as well, begins to heal itself as you start to heal the womb. Now, a womb of a woman is connected to her connection with creativity, her connection with femininity, her connection with womanhood. And in the age of Pisces and before now, when women were oppressed, and then after that, when women decided to take on the role of getting into the workforce, and then as all of those shifts happened, there was less support for women generally, right? So you're competing with a man for the same job in a workplace, for example, and if you get your period or if you become pregnant, there is still a very, very wide discrepancy in the way that the sexes are treated, and in a way there is no equality because we are biologically very different and our functions are also very different. But so as you go through your awakening process, right, you will find that for a while, and depending on the path you choose, if your path is one that I no longer want to reproduce, I no longer, but you completely go onto the other side and you want to keep rising and rising and rising, either your menstrual cycle will come back to normal and it will flow when it flows, or it'll flow in the reverse position, whereas it'll flow when the moon is at its fullest as opposed to when it's at its lowest. So when it's the lowest, when there is no moon, is generally when we release, because that's the time for a downward movement. All my love for all of you beautiful women out there going through this. Please do drop me a line and share your own experiences. My own experiences are quite deep in this regard. I used to suffer from a lot of things because my creativity was very, very stifled since I was very little. So I always suffered from very painful periods, endometriosis, polycystic ovaries, and the lot. Everything stopped, right? Everything stopped. All the pain, all the discomfort, everything stopped when I stepped into my creative potential. I did. So can you. So much love. Take care.